Hey, I'm Diego Viteri and Felipe Iturralde. Welcome to a new video of Viteri Boxing. Today, I am going to teach you how to counter the jab. The jab is the most used punch in boxing, so you have to be able to know how to counter both ways, simultaneous and also delayed counter punching. And we're also going to teach you how to avoid being countered, because as some people get frustrated, they get scared of throwing punches because they're afraid of people getting countered. So today we're going to teach you how to avoid being countered too. So let's begin with the video. So first you need to understand there's two types of counter punching. The first one is delayed counter punching and the second one is simultaneous. So let's begin with the delayed counter punching. For delayed counter punching, you first need an attack of your opponent. He attacks you, you need a defense, and after that you counter your opponent. So it's a three-step. It's a little bit slower, but it's really effective and it's the most used way of countering. For this, you have two ways of defending, only two ways. The first one is going to be by using your parry. You can parry and counter your opponent. You can parry using other punches, and you can also use your head movement or sleeping punches. So you can slip the jab inside, counter your opponent. You can slip the jab, counter your opponent. So both of them are delayed counter punches. The only defense that you can't use is the blocking your opponent, just blocking the punch. If you block your opponent, the jab, the punch is gonna put all your weight on the back foot, and if you put the weight on the back foot, it's gonna be really hard to get into a counter punch or to come back with a punch. So you can only use parries and slipping your punches for the delayed counter punching. So remember that whenever you're gonna try to counter your opponent, you need great timing, you need great fundamentals, and the mechanics have to be perfect. Every single detail is important, and you will learn all this in my complete classes or my full classes in viteriboxing.com. See you there so we can train together. The second way of countering is simultaneous counter. Remember that Bruce Lee created a whole martial art based on intercepting your opponent or simultaneous counter punching. So when he throws a jab, what I'm going to do is at the same time I'm throwing my punch. So he throws the jab and at the same time I throw my jab. This is the most effective way of countering because he's committing to the punch. And whenever he commits to the punch, it's a double collision that happens, so it's more power. So whenever he throws the punch, at the same time I throw my punch, he can throw the jab and at the same time I throw my overhand. So it's a perfect way to counter your opponent, but you need great timing, and the only way you can do the simultaneous counter or intercepting your opponent is by slipping punches. That's the only way you can do it. You have to slip the punch at the same time and throw it at the same time. It's not at the delayed counter punching that you could use the parries or maybe even the slipping punches. Here, only slipping punches is the way. And now that you know how to counter your opponent's jab, you need to understand how to avoid being countered by your opponent. So don't be afraid of throwing your jabs once you know this. So the first thing is that if you throw with the same rhythm all the time, you throw the jab from the same position and with the same pace, it's really easy for him to counter. But if I move and I move with rhythm, I move my head, I have my footwork, and I switch and I change with double jabs. One jab, I leave it there, so my opponent has all his weight on the back foot. It's going to be really difficult for him to know when to throw his counter. The second way is using invisible jabs or feinting. Whenever you throw a feint, you play with double jabs, it's going to be harder for him to counter. And the third one is the way of the master. So if you want to do this, you have to allow your opponent believe that he's countering you. So this is basically a trap. This is you bait your opponent. You throw the jab and you allow him to counter you. So you throw, you allow him, and then you counter your opponent. So that's the way of the master. A drill that you can work at home is using your mitts, and your opponent is going to work in this way, delayed counters. So I'm going to throw my jab, he's going to parry and throw his counter. I'm going to throw my jab and he's going to throw his hook. I'm going to throw my jab and he's going to throw his left uppercut. So in this way, he's going to be trying to work with different type of attacks or countering attacks by throwing my jab. I suggest that you work also in a southpaw position. So you work with throwing your jab with the right hand, and he counters with with whatever shot you ask him. But this is a great way you can improve your counter punching. Now we're going to work on simultaneous counter punching. So we're going to throw, in this case we're working orthodox position. I'm going to throw my jab. He is going to counter with an overhand. This is one of the best ways you can counter your opponent. So he's going to slip inside, and at the same time he's going to throw his overhand. So remember to put your mid next to your head, okay? So he's going to throw his overhand, boom, and this is a perfect way you can work with your overhand. The next one is you can counter your opponent to the body. So I throw my jab and he will go to the body. So we move, make it more realistic. So we move, he throws to the body, or he can throw a simultaneous counter to my face at the same time. So I'll go at the same time. Okay, this is a perfect way that you can train at home. Thanks for watching my video. I hope this video was useful for you. And now that you know how to counter your opponent's jab and how to avoid being countered, you can be more confident whenever you're in sparring or whenever you're training. And remember, we do human chess. We're not trying to take our opponent's head off. We are based on a philosophy of improving, of having a self-improvement. And remember that you can also learn all these techniques, countering punching, like all the fundamentals, the mechanics of each of the punches in my courses in vitteriboxing.com. So see you there.